Appreciate that, Mike. We just had to delay a little bit, had two more guys just announced their signings, so excited about them. Really good day. Just want to first start off by thanking some people that within the organization that a lot of times don't go as recognized as their efforts deserve. Patrick Suttis, our general manager, Karina Hargraves, who sets up all the visits, does all the transcripts, makes sure all the applications, all those things, sets up wonderful visits for us. Thomas Greery in the recruiting office helps run the evaluation process, integral in the social media piece as well. Aaron Joe, I affectionately call him EJ the DJ, played here, was an offensive graduate assistant here, and has now moved into the recruiting department and does a phenomenal job in that role. Rafael Andredes, AK, Brooks, Jacob, some other people that you guys might not have heard of, just what they do when the recruits and their families come to campus. Our creative team, Patrick Clancy, I'm sure is in here. Neo, what's your real name? Alex Brizadine. Yes, so Alex Brizadine does a really good job, and everybody knows Simit Shaw. Simit does a phenomenal job as the oversight for everything, social media in the organization as a whole. Obviously, we partner with J1S and Santino Stancato Morpheus. Does a tremendous job as an outsource agent to help us with all of those things. So just really appreciative of all of their efforts in this recruiting class and really just on a day-to-day basis with everything in the organization. First, before I even continue, tomorrow is mine and my wife's 26th wedding anniversary. Ken, you've had to put up with me for 3 years. She's had to put up with me for 26. So just, thankful to her, love her. And then just the signing class as a whole. We knew going into it was going to be a smaller class. We wanted to really focus on the quality that was in the class, and I know that we did that. And I'm sure Flynn has all the data and the number of stars relative to the number of stars that have come through the years. But it's a really good class, very targeted class. Relative to a small senior class that we had, but there's still spaces. There'll be another signing period in February for some high school guys, and then throughout the next couple of weeks, the transfer portal and getting some key transfers in the coming weeks. Some have gone public, others are can't really comment on until they arrive here in January. The other thing that hit today was the news that Jemias Griffin is coming back, running back for us. I still remember 2 years ago the huge news when he signed with us. And so again today said he's going to come back. Really excited about that. And then Ace Ely announced today that he's coming back. He was a captain for us, and just really excited about him. And the interesting thing about Ace, he was one of the guys that in this interim period from the early signing period last year until the first day we reported to campus is when he joined the family. So, it's an exciting time. Normally the early signing day is over and then you just get ready for January. But now we're still actively in the process of still recruiting some key additions. So with that, you good, Mike?
Yes.
Open to questions.
Open up for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Got a microphone. We'll start right here with Rod.
Hey, Geoff, I imagine that the offensive line was a crucial part of your targets for the recruiting class. Moving forward, will the portal be an area where you're going to target?
It will be, absolutely. The offensive line and the secondary will still be two key places that we'll continue to look for some guys to come in and help. And there's obviously some guys we're targeting, and those will materialize and be made known over the next couple of weeks.
Kelly, we'll continue with National Signing Day and recruiting questions.
Yeah, Geoff. Obviously with the quarterback situation, it's important to add some depth there. Kind of, can you talk about Zach and kind of what your expectations are now with Coach Long in the quarterback room vis-a-vis signing day?
Absolutely, yeah. Really excited about Zach Pyron, three-time state champion. So he's a winner, he's a leader, and obviously you turn on the tape and you've seen it. I mean, he's a big physical presence and very mobile, but just his competitive nature, his leadership ability, the maturity that he shows, just getting to know him and talking to him and his family, he's going to be a really, really good addition to us. Played in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game on Saturday, and then Kate got here late Saturday evening for his brief official visit. But the connection that he made with his entire signing class was powerful, and those kind of connections and leadership ability with obvious, physical talent, has us really excited.
Ken?
I was curious to learn a little more about KJ Miles, kind of how that came about and what you think he can do for you.
Yes, one of the highest recruited guys in the country. Took a summer official visit, and fell in love with the place, fell in love with the education, the relationships, all of those things, and just getting to know him, getting to know his family, the vision they have for their lives, the detail they have for where KJ is going. And, we're blessed that he chose our program and our academic institution to accomplish all those hopes, accomplish all those dreams. And, I thought Larry Knight did a phenomenal job with him, with Horace Lockett. I saw the stat that it's the first time Georgia Tech has signed 2 4-star defensive tackles. And, the quality of the young men, Horace Lockett and KJ, their tape, when you watch the tape, obviously they're physically gifted and they play really, really hard. But then you get to know them and their work ethic, their demeanor, and their vision for what they want to accomplish in their life. It's going to be a really good fit for both of them.
Rod?
You added 2 running backs in Antonio Martin and Jamie Felix.
Yep.
How would you compare their running styles?
Yeah, they're both very, very talented. Everybody that saw Antonio in the playoff run, just, how physical he is, how powerful he is, how hard he runs. And then Jamie, his elusiveness, his speed, his toughness, his physicality. I think they complement each other very well. And, getting them to sit down with Coach Long and watch the things that he's been able to do with his offenses over the years, I think it's going to be a really good fit with what Coach Long does and what we're going to be doing here with both of them.
Allison?
We were over at Horace's and Clayton's signing at Westlake, and both of them, what stood out to me is they said they chose Georgia Tech because it felt like a family and
Sure.
a home. I guess how special does it for you to know that the guys coming here
Right.
see that relationship before even hitting the field, and how do you guys make that known throughout the recruiting process?
Yeah, I think it's just inherent in who we are. I think across the organization, from me to coordinators, position coaches, everybody in the recruiting staff, our GAs, analysts, QCs, everyone that's involved in an organization, we're very close as a whole, and I think that translates into our connections with our players, how much we love our guys, how much we care for our guys, the relationships that we build in the offseason and throughout the season, and then we try to have a multi-layered approach with every single recruit and their families, and then get those bonds across every different level that we can. Those things are important to us. And from here to hear it from our players' mouths, or to hear it from recruits and recruits' families' mouths, that means a lot, because it's important to us here, and we place a big emphasis on it. But to hear it reciprocated and valued from other people, that means a lot.
Kelly?
In terms of this cycle with the COVID year, that kind of threw everyone's numbers out of whack, and then I imagine just how difficult was it to just approach and try to figure out what your numbers are, what you're looking at, and then the portal being such a huge thing now too. Just how do you balance that? How do you set your board up that?
It is it's probably 7 conversations a day, especially over the last month with Sudis and with Thomas Greery and the coordinators, and it's an ongoing, ever-evolving process. So, and it's going to stay fluid throughout. And I think that's one of the things that we take solace in, is that's one of our strengths: the ability to stay fluid, the ability to make real-time decisions, and to have fluid trains of thought. It matters in this day and time, and I'm blessed that I have trusted people who are willing to speak the truth, willing to give me really good guidance on things like that, and I have an open dialogue so we can make the best decision for everybody in the organization, individually and as a whole.
Rod?
Place kickers normally don't get much pub when it comes to signing day.
Right.
You picked up Burr.
Yeah.
I imagine with Gavin, you won't have to have him maybe kick off, but maybe concentrate on field goals, extra points. What is his range, and what do you see from him?
Yeah, I mean, I think Aiden's, obviously he's very highly ranked. And when you watch the tape and when we saw him kick live, very talented kicker. But I do think that the guys that we have in the organization have grown a lot over the last year, and are just excited for the competition to continue throughout the spring, through the summer, and even into the season as well. But I do think we've got some very talented kickers, and I think Aiden, one of my favorite parts about him is when he was here kicking. I don't know, Rod, if you and Kelly were here, but you didn't even have to see him kick, you could hear it. You walk into the indoor and you could just hear his foot strike the ball, and then you see it, and it's impressive as well. But obviously there's going to be really good competition, but excited Aiden decided to join us.
Kelly?
You added Kyle at linebacker, and that's obviously a position you've like to get some more production and depth, really.
Right.
Out of, can you talk about what you liked about him as a defensive player?
Yeah, just again, you turn on Kyle's tape, and he's making plays all over the field. He's tough. He's physical. I think he had well over 150 tackles this year. And then you turn on the other side of the ball, and I think he ran for over 1,100 yards. In one of the best leagues in the state. And just when you get to know him, you get to know his family, his singularity of focus, his vision, what he wants to do with his life through this game, with the education, and the leadership ability that he has. One of my favorite stories, we went in there a Wednesday, of a playoff week when we were out during the contact period, and they were doing stretching in the weight room, and his level of focus, his making sure everybody that was around him was as dialed in as he was on the process. Just the natural leadership ability that Kyle has is impressive. And I think, Caleb Edwards coming from the same school, Caleb playing a ton as a true freshman, and then stamping this place to one of his, close friends and teammates. I think that speaks volumes, back to Allison's point about how the guys feel in the locker room, and how the guys, that we're recruiting feel about the place.
Okay.
Just given the way the season went and just the way things work in recruiting generally, I'm sure a lot of your guys were coaches trying to flip them and so forth. I'm curious just how you felt that worked out, on the whole.
Yeah, and I think that's the nature of college football and high school recruiting. And we're in those fights, we're in those recruiting battles and those kind of things, and just trying to assemble the best fits and the best guys into the roster and into the program. But it's a compliment to the quality of guys that we've targeted, quality of guys that we've gone after to bring here to the Institute, and that's the nature of college football recruiting and high school recruiting. And we're a competitive group, and obviously we want to win more battles than we lose.
Allison?
What have you learned overall just now going into your fourth season as head coach in this recruiting process? I mean, you've talked about it building a brand and making,
Sure.
local kids want to stay in Georgia. So
Yep.
what have you learned about yourself?
So here's one of my favorite things where we are right now. You speak to the branding, the culture has been alluded to. We're to the point now where it's time to work. the brand is set, the culture set, all of those things. Now it's time to coach. Now it's time to work. And I'm so excited to get back when our guys report January 9th. We'll have a team meeting and just go to work. We've done, I don't know if this is the time to transition into the next phase of the press conference. Sorry about that. But just the piece about getting the guys back together. We've already begun. I talked about standing right here the Saturday after Thanksgiving about doing a deep dive and evaluating every single thing in the program. And obviously we've started that, made some big changes that everybody notices. But there's also a lot of things, as the head of the organization, beginning that deep dive into everything that we can fix to get the results better on the field. We're in that process. That process will continue. Obviously, today is about recruiting, bringing a group of guys in here to elevate what we're trying to do, to get the results on the field, to get where we want them to be. But all of that is a process, and I'm fired up to be in the early stages of it. There's going to be big changes that'll make an impact in results, and then there's also going to be some subtle things that will adjust and fix that might not be as evident, but all of it will be to improve the results that are on the field.
Okay, so with that, we will open it up to any other questions you might have about the program. If you still have recruiting questions, feel free to ask those as well. Kelly, go ahead.
Can you talk about your decision to make a change with your offense and what
Sure.
you see with Chip bringing him in here?
Yeah, so Dave Patinode's one of my closest friends. I've known him for 25 years, and is a great coach and a great man, and I love him dearly. But it's just some of the changes that we made, just where we are in the program, just new faces, new voices in the room, in the program. And just really excited about Chip Long. We did a deep dive into analytics and relationships and, statistics and production, all of those things. And talking to a lot of people, narrowed our focus on Chip and what he does offensively is really ideally suited to where we're going and what we can build upon. And having conversations with him, the production that he's had, the ability to adjust with personnel everywhere that he's been, just really excited about him coming here and joining us. And he's here and has done a tremendous job already on the recruiting front. He was, I think, tabbed as one of the top recruiters in the country throughout his career, and you can see that with the instant connection that he makes with guys on our roster, and that the instant connection that he was making with the recruits as well, especially down the stretch.
Rod?
You have two openings right now.
Yep.
Assuming that one of them is going to be a running back coach.
Sure.
What are you looking at for the other positions, Coach?
Yeah, so the biggest piece, because we haven't even talked about the secondary, and the same thing, Jeff Popovich, Nathan Burton, two dear friends. I think they're great coaches, great family men. But again, just, new faces, new voices, and one of the things with Travaris Tillman hiring him, being a 4-year starter here, being a captain here, playing 7 years in the NFL, being the last 6 years with Mel Tucker, who I consider and is widely considered an elite DB coach, and just getting him to come back home was huge. We made the transition that we made the decisions that we made, or that I made, and targeted Chip, targeted Travaris, and both of them decided to come. The next two positions that we're going to fill will hopefully be within the next week, and then we'll flesh that out and give more details to that afterwards. But the biggest piece was the offensive coordinator piece and the secondary piece, the defensive backfield. And the other thing I'm sure you guys notice is, when the NCAA allowed for the 10th assistant, initially I had one DB coach and I didn't break up the secondary room, corners and safeties. Then we got here, and we did, and I thought it was important to get that back into one umbrella, one coach, one voice, that kind of thing. So that was a key piece for me, for somebody that can bring the entire secondary together one standard, one voice, one level of communication, one preparation process. And, I know Travaris can do that. I've known him for 22 years and, think the world of him as a person and then watching him grow as a coach. I'm just really proud that he joined us and decided to come back home. And I hope, the Yellow Jacket fan base feels the same way as I do, because he's a special person and a big-time coach as well.
Okay.
How much thought did you give to considering whether to replace Andrew or not, given the way the defense played?
Say it one more time, but
How much thought did you give to considering replacing Andrew or changing that up? Given the way.
Yeah,
the
well, I
defense
think here, and I think you're alluding to us wanting to be better on defense. And I know Andrew Thacker would be the first person to say that, we didn't play to the standard that we've had. Playing defense wherever we've been, and his main focus is to do everything in his power to make sure we're doing that. And I think having Travaris Tillman come in as the pass game coordinator, that will help a lot of things. And the other thing too is Chip Long being here and run the offense, and Brent Key and Kerry Dixon, Chris Weasahan on the offensive side of the ball. I'm fired up to all the things that we've been building to this point. Excited to be back in that defensive room a bunch, and be back on the grass coaching at a high level and giving them as much help as possible. And but just I think disappointed with how we played and want to get better, and convinced that we can get it done.
Kelly?
I guess, how much were you involved with the offense? It sounded like, from what you said during the season, that you were a little more involved than maybe you have been in the past.
Sure.
Did that take away from maybe being able to help out on defense and do the things that you're talking about just now?
Yeah, so the big thing, Kelly, and I'll kind of answer it in a different way. As I began the deep dive into everything that we need to fix to take the next steps to get the product on the field and the results on the field at the highest level possible, the things that I've realized is less branding, more coaching, less worrying about culture, more worried about ball. All of those things, matter to me. And the other piece is, at the end of the day, it all falls back on me. And it's my responsibility to get everything, fixed that's not producing the results the way that we expect them to be, our fan base expects them to be, I expect them to be, and just taking full responsibility and full ownership as the head football coach, that whatever falls under the umbrella of Georgia Tech football ultimately falls on me. And so where I can use my expertise to the fullest, I'm going to do it. And there's not anything too small to make adjustments to. Just because we had unbelievable success at Temple doing it a certain way, or at Florida or Mississippi State or at Alabama, wherever the things that we do were honed from and learned from and implemented from, take a deep dive into, is it working here? And if it's not, we need to make real-time adjustments to do that, and that's all under my purview. I'm excited about it. I'm passionate about it, and there is nothing too small to be fixed that will not be fixed. And just being relentless in that mindset, taking full responsibility, take full ownership of every single piece in the organization where we need to take the next step to get the product and the results up to the expectation that I have, that we all have. And I'm excited to do it, and I'm excited to get back January 9th with the fellas, and just less talk and just more work.
Rod?
You mentioned Ace coming back for his COVID year. There's 2 or 3 guys on each side of the ball that we haven't heard from yet. Do you expect any announcements soon?
There's conversations, and there's things that I'm let them, and you guys have been around me. I always want the players to be able to have the voice, especially when it comes to their future, when it comes to their present. So I don't want to steal any of their shine or any of their moments. It was important that I felt that, Jemias and Ace on this day. I thought they made the right decision to announce today, and because they're both key pieces, coming back to help us, and their leadership ability, their work ethic, and they're both really good players too. Just fired up that they're coming back.
Ken?
If I could ask you a little more about the defense, can you describe kind of what your role will be as far as whether supporting it or running the defense, or kind of what that'll look like?
Yep. So, Ken, I'm the head football coach at Georgia Tech, and every single part of our organization, from offense, defense, special teams, falls under my purview. But I do know this: throughout the course of my career, I've been tabbed by others as one of the elite defensive coaches in college football, and for me to be able to use that expertise to help THAC, help the defensive staff, I'm going to use it to the fullest of my abilities to help. But also, there's all the other areas that are going to come under my, my umbrella as well, and I've got to make sure all of the things that we're doing and building continue to take great looks at everything, try to get everything in place for our guys to have success as individuals and as a team, and for the results to show up on the field, not just base everything solely on effort. The effort has to produce results, and the results have to come on the field, and just excited to get that done.
Allison, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to recruiting. You have almost 10 guys here that are signed from within the Georgia area. So how big is that for you on signing day to have such local talent here and to keep them here?
It's huge. I think some of the best high school coaching, high school players are within our 3.5 hour radius within the state of Georgia, within the Southeast. And, to get the local guys to stay home and have a connection with Georgia Tech, have a connection with wanting to be in Atlanta, and, stay home, it matters. And, I think that sentiment resonates with a lot of the guys that chose to stay home. And, I think just, the way we align ourselves with the city, I think it's important for those relationships and for those guys to choose to stay home and play here.
Kelly?
How difficult was it to do that deep dive and look at things and see the results not being what you want? And
Sure.
Obviously, there were a lot of close losses too this year that certainly
Right.
changed from year to year. But just kind of what was that process like for you, and kind of what did you learn about the program?
Yeah, so it's still ongoing. One of the key things, and you wrestle with every decision, and the lens that you go through, and the people that are able to give you counsel are huge from within. And I've got some great trusted people within the organization that advise me, and that I bounce ideas off of, and things I'm thinking or what we should do in every phase of the organization. But what we did, I guess it was 10 days ago, is decided to bring someone from the outside in, an organizational consultant, sat down with 11 of our guys, individually did a deep dive into what they like, what they see, things they think we can improve on, and did deep conversations with about 11 guys on the roster, and formulated, I don't know how he does it, but formulates something that he can put together to give to the team on a wide variety of topics, from even as something that may seem as minuscule as what we eat Friday night for the snack, Sunday practice versus Monday practice, Sunday day off versus Monday day off. There was no subject, there was no part of the organization that was too small to discuss, nor were things too big to discuss. And then puts together a survey, and then the rest of the guys will get to fill that out, in due time. But I think having somebody that comes in, fresh perspective, doesn't have, isn't clouded down by all of the day-to-day things, and just can do a deep dive into where we can take steps to get the product on the field to be the very best that it can be. And sometimes you got to step outside of yourselves to do that. And, we've done it, and it will continually be an update into what we do and how we do it. One of the other small things maybe to you is how we're going to structure spring ball and spring practice. It'll be the earliest that we've ever gone. We'll start spring ball middle to the end of February. Spring practice will be done by spring break. It's the earliest we've ever gone. But we want to get back on the grass, get back out there with the guys, coach ball, have the guys be coached, and get to football as soon as we can. And then once we get back from spring break, they'll have a 5-week cycle with Coach Lou. So all of those things from the off season to every single thing in the program that we can improve upon, we're looking at. And again, there will be big things that everybody will notice. Then there will be small things that probably, a lot of people won't notice, but everything that we do is to impact the result Saturdays in the fall.
Okay, got time for a couple more, Rod?
The quarterback position is one position that's really been affected by the transfer portal. How difficult is it for you and your staff to keep a balance of keeping the players that are currently on the staff happy, as well as, providing depth for that particular
Sure.
position?
And I think that goes to relationships, and that goes to communication, and all of those things. And so that's an ongoing process. And, Chip has done a really good job communicating with Geoff, communicating with Jeff's family, and will continue to do that with the quarterbacks that we recruit, the quarterbacks that we have on the roster, all of those things. The communication piece is the big piece. Recruit, evaluate, and then coach so that they can play the very best that they can, on Saturdays.
Kelly?
Obviously, the tight end position production hasn't been what you like, but Chip's obviously really well known for
Yeah.
that, and you added Luke via the portal. Can you kind of just talk about the tight end, kind of
Sure.
how you see that evolving going forward? Is that going to be something bigger in the offense?
Well, I think too the piece that we don't talk about, Dylan Devaney, didn't play this year, right? Had to have 2 surgeries on his ankles during the season, and then one right after the season. And we think very highly of Dylan Devaney around here. Dylan Leonard, former walk-on, earned a scholarship, went from 208 pounds to now he's 242 pounds, has become a leader in the locker room. Jack Coco was a former offensive lineman, lost weight to make himself into a lean, mean fullback, tight end, H-back for us. And Billy Ward was a true freshman, and it's one of those things where it's ever evolving, and excited to get Dylan Devaney back. And there's some guys that I can't speak about just yet, but just what you turn on the Chip's film from the success he had at Notre Dame, and there was a lot of tight end play involved in the multiplicity of the formations and schematics that he does, set itself up for us to be able to do that. And then the position's got to play at a high level as well.
Okay, Ken, last one.
I had a question for you about Jameer and just his decision to leave. As you talked, about a deep dive and looking at how you can get better.
Sure.
As far as that decision goes, and are there things you say
And I'll answer that in generalities because I can't really speak specifically, with guys in the portal. But just I've got such a deep love and a deep respect, for all the guys that have played here, and just wish them nothing but the best. There's daily conversations with probably half of the guys, and we wish them the very best. We love them. We're thankful for them and everything that they've done here as Georgia Tech students, Georgia Tech student athletes, and there's never any ill will. It is just love, respect, and anybody that's come into this organization and then moves on, whether it's graduation or whatever else, just love, respect, and just wish them all the success in the world in their future endeavors.